every once in a while I get so pissed off that I'll hire a lawyer for 8 hours. We'll go down to the Title 4D court in Dallas, Texas, where the child support court, Title 4D, they're actually called Title 4D courts. We have a statute in Texas. I printed it out somewhere, which basically says the courts are always to rule so as to maximize Title 4D reimbursements.
Yeah.
It doesn't say in the child's best interest. It's to reimburse Title 4D. So they'll have black men lined up in the hallway going out to the street, and they're just putting them in jail. All of them are just going to jail. So I'll just sometimes I just get so pissed off about this that, I just hire a lawyer and he signs a contract for $1 with these guys and he just stands there all day and just represents these people and keeps them out of jail. It just pisses me off.
For you.
But here's the deal. They go off the Title 4D reimbursement program. And when they put them in jail, they go into the prison reimbursement program, which is $93 a day. So the government just looks at these people as, fathers as just like economic transaction.
Guess who's getting their child support check cut off? You. And your alimony too. Because I just drafted a petition to Congress. And I think the men in America are going to sign it. And to any woman who wishes to course correct before things get ugly, because things are about to get very, very ugly, may I recommend to you a book? It's a special book because it's blank. Everything a man wants his woman to say during an argument, which is nothing. My name is Miss Submissive, and I'm not running for office. I'm just about to run feminism in the ground.
What if I told you I could guarantee every man 100%, zero alimony, zero loss of your assets, and zero child support in a divorce? I believe in marriage. Probably most people who already know what I'm about to tell you also believe in marriage. Welcome to the Shakaama Live Show with your host, Shakaama. Definitely click the thumbs up or thumbs down. There is a ever increasing and growing, exponentially growing set of men who are now anti-marriage. The Gen Z, I believe, don't even have marriage on their radar. They believe it is an outdated, outmoded thing completely. Something that the millennials and the boomers did. So I'm not talking about them at all. I'm talking about the millennials who are just now coming of age to think about marriage and children and settling down. But in that is a huge number, and it's ever growing, who are anti-marriage. They're in the right age, but they're anti-marriage. I believe if you had the information that I want to give you, two things would happen. I would convince all of the anti-marriage men, if you have a complete 100% guarantee that you will not lose anything to 100%. In a divorce, I bet you, and it's guaranteed, I bet you they would switch from anti-marriage to being pro-marriage. Also, on the flip side, if you presented the women with the information that if they get married, they are not going to get alimony, child support, nor any of the assets should they think that they're going to get divorced. And there are going to be two types of women. The women who are just going to say, okay, then we're never going to get married because they're gold diggers. Their whole intention was the long con. That is to marry you, wait 10 years, depending on your state, 10 years, then divorce you at 10 plus years and get the alimony, half your assets, and the full custody of the children and child support, right? There are even laws directing the courts to do that. Get the most amount of money that you possibly can in a divorce. The court. Women don't understand this. They don't get half. They get 20%. The court, everybody in it, the judge, his lawyer, her lawyer, they all get 30% of the dissolution of the marriage. This is why I keep telling women, 50% of the women who get divorced 5 years later, they are bankrupt, and 50% of those are homeless, even with child support, even with alimony. Why? They don't understand. The court takes your money, or takes his money, and doesn't give you the money. And a lot of times the court takes all of it. depending on how the laws are written. So they encourage you to get divorced so that they can get the alimony and the assets. But I have a complete legal way that the man doesn't lose all of that. There's a second set of women who, if you tell them they're not going to get anything in a divorce, anything, nothing, zero, those women would then decide, okay, I'm going to get married, and divorce is not an option in this marriage. There will be many feminists saying, oh my God, the women shouldn't get married at all then. What is their reasoning? Their reasoning is the idea that you should get married, get divorced, and take his money. It is not a beneficial reasoning to women at all. I have seen countless videos of women saying, I regret getting a divorce. Now I have destroyed my entire life, and I want my husband back and my life back, but my husband has gotten remarried, and he has a new woman, and she's not going anywhere. And they have 3 new children. Countless videos. If you want to see this information, it is on my Patreon. Patreon.com/Shakaama. It's on there. It's already on there. Everything is all written out. All the legal stuff, who you have to contact, everything. It's all on there. If you still get divorced, even with this, and you, sir, you decide that you don't want to leave her with nothing, because you can. With my information, you can absolutely leave her with zero. You can decide if you want to give her some money. You don't have to sign a prenup, because this is the prenup. The information that I have, you can do this while you are married. You don't have to be a brand new fiance waiting to get married to do this information that I have on the Patreon. You can do this right now if you're married right now. It will give you peace of mind, and it will also give the woman a peace of. She can resolve herself. Okay, I guess I'm stuck with him, and let's make a go of it. A lot of women these days have been indoctrinated into, if it gets rough, I'm out of here. And their definition of rough can be, he left the toilet seat up. Or even, I did something as the wife, but I'm so delusional and so mentally unstable that I blame the man for allowing me to do this awful thing to myself or to him, whatever it is. We no longer put any blame on women ever. So because of this, you have women filing for divorce for absolutely and I mean absolutely no reason, nothing a reasonable person would even consider. There's levels to understanding what you can put up with. And people who are much mentally tougher have a whole set of circumstances that they wouldn't even consider to be a problem. When I was growing up, and I was a child, if I went to reach for a glass of milk and I tried to grab the milk in my little child hands, and I spilled the milk, my mother would become unglued and scream and yell and beat me. What did I say? Would a reasonable person even consider that? No reasonable person would even consider that to be a thing, right? So this is what I'm talking about with a reasonable person has a certain set of circumstances that they wouldn't even consider to be a problem. No reasonable parent would consider a child dropping a glass of water or milk or whatever, spilling it, dropping it, or even breaking the glass, not holding on to the glass, an issue at all. And this is the level that I'm talking about that women get divorced over. Or they have a concept in their mind of who their husband is. They marry the guy, and year after year after year, he disproves that concept because she has an image in her mind. Because she's one of those Disney princess types. And she believes that her husband is a Disney prince. Seriously, we're talking serious mental issues. And by year 5 to year 10, her illusion of who her husband is supposed to be is gone. Now she wants a divorce. Is that reasonable? No, that's not reasonable. No, nobody would consider that. But when you have no fault divorce, it doesn't matter what her reasoning is at all. I believe this information would alleviate you, first of all, of that type of woman completely. Because if she really does have this weird illusion of who you are as her husband, I would think telling her that she's not going to get anything in the divorce would sober her up. And if not, she's going to pay the price of being with you for 5 years, 10 years, and being at the state that she's in. So if she is a Disney princess and Disney princesses don't have children at all, she's going to get divorced, not have anything from you, and she's going to be in whatever state she's in. Cashier at Starbucks, whatever. So she's going to be 35, cashier at Starbucks. No house, because house is going to be in your name. Actually, house is not going to be in your name. No house from you at all. And it beats California law, too. That's all you need to know. Or I'm saying that should tell you right there how rock solid. She's going to have no house, no car, nothing. Unless she bought it with her own money and you allowed it. You have complete say-so of everything in the marriage, which is how it's supposed to be. Let me say this, and I'll leave it with this. The women of yesteryear were much happier in their marriage because, just like the church, the Christian church, the woman could come and lay all of her troubles, all of her problems, all of her worries at the feet of her husband. As Christians, that's what you're supposed to do to God, right? You're supposed to lay all of your troubles at the feet of God, and he's supposed to take it, right? That's the theory, right? I know I'm not trying to indoctrinate you. I'm trying to make a point, or I might try to make a allegory, illustration, what have you. Because you, the husband, were the final decision maker, and the woman could lay all of her issues, all of her problems, all of her worries at your feet, it alleviated her of worry. This is why women used to live 10 years longer than men, because they didn't have stress in their life. All of the stress was laid at the feet of the husband. And when 85% of the country was married, it was 85% of all men were far more stressed, but their marriages were far happier. And the women had not a care in the world. I believe this returns to that state because it takes all of the legal stuff out of the equation. Everything's in his name, in your name. You control everything. You own everything. And she doesn't have to worry about anything. She doesn't have to stress about anything, ever. Be careful, though, about your will. Be careful about your will. And I would say put your children in your will first. That's how it used to be anyway. The children inherited everything. And the children were told to take care of mother when father was gone. It is no longer women live 10 years longer than men. I know you're going to see some stats that say that they do. That's not true. It is now equal. That's one of the stats that they want to keep alive. The women live in, but they don't. Women are now taking on just as much stress, which is a killer, all by itself. It creates cortisol and all that other stuff that goes on inside of you, which is the reason why men were dying 10 years earlier than women. Now women have that same stress because they're working like men. We're talking 40 hours a week. Women are not there yet, but a lot of them are. 40 hours a week, overtime. Companies are complaining that women are not working 40 hours. They're complaining that women aren't working overtime when they need to step up because the job requires overtime, because it's quote unquote crunch time, and crunch time means you have to get out your project on time. That means that everybody who works in the company has to put in overtime to get the product out on time. And companies are complaining that women workers do not do. For all of their bluster and whining and complaining, they are not working equal to men at all. But the ones that do are suffering all of the same ramifications that men do. Stress, high stress, and a high mortality rate. Early mortality rate. Yeah, right? Japan had to lay off of that because they were seeing that it literally was killing off the population because they were working themselves. This returns that she doesn't have to work as much, You can pool the resources, and you can literally set out saying, this is yours, this is mine. If you leave me, you take only yours. And they can set it up where if she does in fact make more than, and with what I'm talking about, anything that she makes is more than you, because it zeroes you out. Anything compared to zero is more, right? Understand. I hope those that understand, it alleviates, it's been shown, it alleviates the woman a lot of stressor, and those marriages last just by themselves. Just the idea that the man is going to take him alleviates a woman of a lot of stress. A lot of women complain, a lot of single women complain that I don't want to do this by myself anymore. They've made horrible decisions. They're a modern woman. So anytime that they get with a man, all of those decisions that they've made is still with them. So they're not suitable as a wife. So nobody wants to marry them. And then they complain about being alone and that they don't want to be alone. But they literally are holding on to everything that tells them that they should be alone. And all of that behavior tells them that this is the contradiction of the modern woman. She wants to have somebody that she could come and lay all of her stress, all of her problems, all of her worries at their feet, namely a man, and not worry about it anymore. This is a lot of times why a lot of single women are completely jealous of married women. And this is why you get a lot of hate and backlash and down talking of married women, especially married women with a bunch of kids. Because if they're a single mom, they know the full impact of having to do all of this by themselves. And they consider it unfair that another woman can have 5 children and be perfectly happy. It just boils their blood. This alleviates all of that. Thank you all for checking out my Patreon.